As humanity started to reach beyond their cradle world, a few noticed that humans survived quite well in the vacuum of space, even though they're technologically deficient to many. When asked how they know how to survive so well, they show people how, and they say there's something called the survivability onion. This is confusing to most. One of the primary sections of this particular vegetable is do not get seen or sometimes do not get detected. Yet not as strange as seeing humans holding on to something so old and ancient as they finally broke away from such insane practices as trying to control energy resources or keeping the population unhealthy in order to once again attempt control. They begin to reach out into the universe as a whole, yet very rarely do they reach beyond their own sector. Not only that, but they prioritize their own survival while doing so, something that most species don't, as everyone reaches for their certain goals, reaching for glory and such. To the rest of the species, humans are, well, paranoid in the way they operate, constantly moving carefully and such. That paranoia became handy when the avian Camilla decided that they would annex all of the lesser species. They struck out at every species along their borders that they believed to be lesser than. And in truth, they were simply invading sectors of species that were lower tech or simply had smaller populations. Each of these species cried out, asking, why? Followed quickly by calls for mercy, please, really, asking and begging them why to stop or begging out to the entire universe for assistance. The only assistance that came in the form of temporary sanctions against the Camilla. These token political posturings barely even slowed the Camilla advance, though it did slow it just a little. Just enough for these higher tech species to claim that they're actually doing something to help those others. In desperation, the invaded species actually call out to other species, those that were not in high standings. They begged for assistance for those not on the Camilla border. They begged for assistance. And even it's just to save a few of them, just so their entire species is not lost in time, they sent out the messages of the brutality, the destructions of clearly civilian vessels simply trying to get out of the line of fire, the annihilation of bunkers full of surviving young, the direct targeting of medical personnel, buildings, and shuttles. There was even a warning from the Camilla that any ship entering the contested zones would be fired upon. As they see it, this would be acknowledged as an invasion of sovereign Camilla territory. Along the borders of these contested zones, several ships waited. Different species had actually sent aid, yet the Camilla warbirds sat waiting like spiders in a web, waiting for any of these ships to try. There was no such thing as a warning shot, and over a dozen vessels were lost with all hands trying to simply punch through the line, trying desperately to help those on the ground of whatever planet. Seeing this, a message reached out to all the species completely not encrypted. It simply stated from a single bipedal, pink colored, uniformed creature. Humanity as a whole has come together to deliver a message. I will be delivering it for humanity. The horrendous actions of the Camilla against non combatants, in particular the wounded, the young, and those simply desiring to bring aid to the victims. We will not stand idly by any longer, not without speaking our piece. The Camilla have gone far beyond what is acceptable by any species designation. And in regards to this invasion, they have gone so far past the line they cannot see it anymore. Such acts cease now. If the brutality halts, then humanity will assure no intervention from unknown personnel. We highly recommend you listen to these words. We highly recommend you take our words seriously. The Camilla listened, and many of them simply ruffled their feathers and made a strange cackling sound, which is their version of a laugh, many of them falling down as they thought this was one of the best jokes they ever heard. Eventually, they sent back their own message once they could actually keep a straight face. Humanity is bold for making such a declaration. This brings respect. Yet, you are still a lesser species and have no place to demand any actions or inactions. As a sign of respect, respect at the acknowledgement that you will be a challenge in comparison to those other lesser species. We are responding with our own demand, this one of inaction. You should stay out of our business, as soon enough it will be your turn. A bold species like you should prepare. Prepare to submit to our rule. It is preferred to have such a species as yours as our vassal. You have no power to face us, as we know of your paltry force. It is nothing compared to ours, a truly paltry force. Humans listened to this. Many of them looked at each other, and one voice kind of stuck out. A simple video of one of the orderlies asking the sender next to him, "Did they just say, 'How dare you?' Followed by, 'You should bend over, get on your knees because we're bigger than you?' Oh, hell no." The Camilla continued their assault with even more brutality after this. They continued this way as they desired the fear to envelop the species they planned to occupy. They believed fear was one of their best assets. That is when odd things began to happen, things they couldn't understand. A council member's vehicle would suddenly lose control, plummet into a body of water that was next to them, causing the Camilla inside to drown. Even if they could get out of the vehicle, it is well known that the Camilla have a near inability to swim. A Camilla war leader was found strangled in temporary lodging on a contested world. Nobody saw anything go in or out. There was no anything. They wondered if the war leader actually strangled themselves. There was the time almost the entire species was watching as a piece of liquid nitrogen, which was condensed down to the quantum level, penetrated a general's face during a speech, exploding her brains all over her mate, and he simply screamed, sounding like a human's little girl. There was also the time that an entire meeting room of Camilla senators were found disemboweled, still in their seats, as though their intestines were suddenly ripped out of their bodies while they sat there, completely unknown that it was happening. Vessels that had just left the space dock suddenly exploding in a way that ruptured the hull and ventilated the crew in less than a minute before the ship itself suddenly disappearing, leaving nothing behind, only for the vessel to jump into a contested sector simply adrift. As the Camilla docked with it to figure out what is going on, the vessel exploded, and this took out multiple vessels with it in one go. The Crown Prince, second only to the Camillic Emperor, wakes up to find his wings, both wings, which to them is akin to arms, severed in his sleep, and the severed sections seem to be burned shut, so there's no way of reattaching them. Supply convoys suddenly disappear for no reason, just gone. No debris, just gone. Or they only send out a message. When you go and look for them, the Camilla find nothing but destroyed ships all over the place. They listen to recordings and only hear screaming that they're being fired upon by nothing. And then The recording stops. Even when the new empress stood for her coronation, as she's right there on the podium, she fell over all of a sudden, just dropped. And they inspected her. Maybe she passed out from the excitement. But as they rolled her over, they found a human blade stuck into her back all the way to the hilt. When they examined the recordings, they only found barely a second of something shimmering right behind, as though something had simply run up and was gone. It was strange. They couldn't make heads or tails of it. What they did know was this was not just a political assassination. This was a message. This was a warning. A warning that the humans, they may not be powerful, but they seem to be ghosts. They could be right next to you, and you wouldn't know it. All you would know is parts of you are ripped out, parts of you just exploded, parts of you are severed, or you are very, very dead. Instead of taking the warning, the Camilla wanted retaliation. The entirety of the Camilla's military is mobilized, and they jump towards Seoul. When they reach there, they only see a few colonies, a couple small space stations, and worker AIs inside their own asteroid field. The Camilla advanced, believing this victory was assured, as they have so many ships, so many personnel, that there's no way they can be stopped. Besides, there's nothing out here that can stop us. And then they hear the same voice from before. I warned you, you fat piece of shit. At that point, explosions rock the Camilla fleet. Explosives from inside the ships rupture key systems, making all the ships go adrift that these explosions happen inside. Other ships that don't have these explosions suddenly find humans, exosuited soldiers inside, beginning to rip the crews apart, seemingly with their big mechanical hands. On other ships, they're fired upon from areas that they read zero vessels. There's nothing on the sensors, but shots are coming from there. Some sort of launched chemical projectile is coming from this area. Where is it all coming from? The Camillas fire at anything where they believe the ships were, hitting nothing. Whatever was there is no longer there. That is when one of the captains, a young, fresh from the academy captain, ordered his ship to get us clear and jump us away now. His crew paused for a moment. They hesitated until the captain actually pulled his weapon, aimed it at the helmsman, and told him to move, as they tried desperately to get away from the massive ships being torn apart from the inside and the out. The ship jump engines are spinning up, and the captain can hear debris and glancing impacts of his ships as his point defenses spray desperately to keep them alive. He yells to jump immediately, knowing full well that if he jumps at this point without putting his point defenses back inside the ship, they're going to get ripped off, destroyed, mangled, but he doesn't care. As they jump away, the rest of the Camilla fleet, all of them, all 2,311 vessels, are being torn apart by what seems like ghosts. Things that appear and disappear in the ships. Some of them realize too late as this giant five-fingered hen suddenly appears in front of them, grabs them by the neck, and snaps it. Sometimes grabbing them, whipping them around, and those inside can hear the cracking of multiple vertebrae. It's disgusting. On the outside, ships are firing in all different directions. Sometimes they believe they got a glancing hit, and they fire in that same direction, and then hitting nothing. It is a slaughter. Once in FTL, the executive officer asked the captain, why did they run from battle, claiming it was a disgrace to run. Yet the captain is just staring straight forward, not really looking at things, as though he is staring 1,000 yards ahead, as the captain is remembering something he had heard about the humans when he was in the academy. Something he decided to look into and now makes perfect sense. Is the reason why The captain is muttering the same things over and over again as he urinates on the deck plates. Don't be there. Don't be detected. Don't be acquired or identified. Don't be hit. Don't be penetrated. Don't be killed. Don't be there. Don't be detected. Don't be acquired or identified. Don't be hit. Don't be penetrated. Don't be killed. Hello, everybody. This is Syntax. Thank you for joining me today on this short story. And before I go, I have to say that today's winner is Erica Gem, with Tim MC coming in a really close second. I also need to send out some special thank yous to the supporters of the channel, and they are Prozac and Pancakes, SS Demon, Brian Kemp, MTF Guard, Julius Boone, Douglas Scarborough, Erica Gem, Guardian Sage, and Sir. Thank you all for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax, punching out.